If you've ever felt like gardening was supposed to bring peace, but instead brought stress, I get it. I've been gardening for 20 plus years and I almost quit completely. Today, I want to walk you through the simple garden system I rebuilt after downsizing, the one that actually works in small spaces, busy seasons, and real life. I'm going to give you the framework here so you can finally understand why your garden may have felt hard in the past and what needs to change so it actually starts feeding you consistently. The real problem is that most gardening advice simply doesn't fit real life. We're taught to plant everything all at once in the spring, plant as much as possible, grow every fun thing we can squeeze in, and then somehow keep up with watering, pruning, disease, pests, and planning on what comes next on top of normal life. Meanwhile, real life is kids, work, exhaustion, finances, weather swings, and just trying to get dinner on the table. So we feel guilty. We feel like we're always behind, and eventually the garden either burns us out or quietly fades halfway through the season. The first pillar of my system is being really honest with yourself and building a garden you can manage on your own, even on the hard days. For years, I planned gardens as if the future me would always have unlimited energy, unlimited time, perfect weather, and no unexpected life stress, but that is not real life. Real life includes tired seasons, busy ones, emotional ones, and many times it's just you out there keeping things going. So now I ask a very different question, and I encourage my students to do the same. Instead of how big of a garden can I build, I ask what kind of a garden can I realistically care for by myself on an average week. That single mindset shift brings so much relief and power back into gardening, because when your garden is built to function as a one-person system, it becomes stable, sustainable, and it keeps feeding you even when life is heavy. That's one of the big reasons I lean so much on raised beds, containers, and grow bags. They create healthy limits since they're easier to maintain, especially if you have difficult native soil like we do, which is solid red clay. They keep soil quality predictable, which leads to, most importantly, giving you control instead of leaving you at the mercy of total chaos. When your garden matches your real capacity, not the imaginary version of you who has unlimited time and emotional bandwidth, you stop feeling like you're constantly behind and you can create a garden that you can actually show up for. I'll walk you through the rest of the framework here, and if you want help applying this to your own garden, I've linked my free training below. The second pillar of my system is choosing crops that truly earn their space. And for me, this was the single biggest shift that changed everything. For a long time, I planted because I loved gardening and I loved choosing things that looked fun or sounded exciting. But when grocery prices went through the roof and life got a lot busier for me, that question changed. Instead of asking, what can I grow? I started asking, what do we actually eat every single week? What costs us the most? And what will make the biggest difference if I grow it myself? That shift transformed my garden from a hobby into something that genuinely supports my family. Because groceries aren't just expensive right now, they're frustrating. We pay more for produce that doesn't last, berries that mold in 2 days, and greens that have wilted before you even get them home. And that fresh food doesn't taste like much. When you start growing foods that replace real grocery purchases, the garden stops being like a side project and starts becoming a major relief and peace of mind. For example, strawberries are one of the best financial decisions I've ever made in my garden. A single small raised bed can produce pounds and pounds of strawberries every year, not just once, but year after year. And compare that to paying $5 to $7 per container at the store for berries that often lose quality within 48 hours. One bed can easily save hundreds of dollars while giving you better flavor, better nutrition, and zero food waste. Leafy greens are another huge one. We used to buy multiple clamshells of salad every week, and now I grow them continuously, and instead of slimy greens in the back of the fridge, we have fresh, crisp food ready whenever we need it. That's weekly groceries we're not buying anymore. And it's not just cost, it's practicality too. I prioritize crops that keep producing instead of one big harvest and then nothing. I love foods that freeze, dry, or store easily without days of work because my life doesn't have room for complicated preserving marathons right now. I'm choosing foods that stretch our budget, simplify our meals, and support the rhythm of real life instead of adding more work to it. And here's the surprising thing that happens when your garden starts feeding your family in real, meaningful ways. Your motivation actually increases as you can literally see the payoff on your plate and in your grocery bill. It's about intentionally growing what matters most, including the foods your family actually eats, the ones that cost the most to buy, and the ones that make the biggest difference in your kitchen and your peace of mind. But none of that works long term without what comes next, because a garden is only as strong as the soil it grows in. If your soil isn't supporting your plants, you'll always feel like you're working harder than your garden is. And that's where the next pillar of this system comes in. The third pillar of my system is building soil that quietly does a lot of the work for you. Over the years, I've learned that soil doesn't have to be complicated or scientific to be powerful. It simply has to stay alive. I focus on feeding the soil consistently and not restarting it every season, and also allowing it to get better over time rather than constantly trying to fix it. Healthy soil creates stronger plants, fewer failures, and a garden that doesn't depend on you to rescue it every few weeks. What eventually went wrong back in my big garden wasn't the soil, it was the loss of structure in the garden itself. Since there was no longer a plan directing that healthy soil I had, invasive weeds took full advantage, adding to the overwhelm. Good soil creates incredible potential, but without intention, that potential doesn't automatically work in your favor. So when I rebuilt my smaller garden, I didn't reinvent anything. I carried that same lesson forward. I respected the reality that truly living and healthy soil develops over time, and the more you support it, the more it supports you. That's what builds the living ecosystem that eventually supports your plants and ultimately supports you. And once your soil is doing its part, the next question becomes how to keep that food coming instead of peaking early and fading out, which leads straight into the next pillar of the system. The fourth pillar of my system is planning for continuous harvest instead of one exciting spring moment that slowly disappears. Most gardens are built around a single big planting day, and it feels amazing at first. Everything's growing, everything's full, and you feel like you did it right. But what usually happens is exactly what used to happen to me. Things peak and then production drops, and halfway through the season, you're staring at empty spaces in a garden that isn't feeding your family anymore. In my smaller garden, that simply couldn't happen. I needed food coming consistently, so now I plan my garden where I think intentionally about how each space can continue working instead of fizzling out. Even in a small space, that creates a steady rhythm of food, and it's the difference between a garden that feels disappointing and one that supports seasonal eating. So then this also changed how I think about seasons. Instead of trying to stretch summer forever, I naturally lean into seasonal eating and simple season extension. Cooler weather crops come back into play when the heat lovers are finishing up, and using simple protections can stretch the cool weather crops further. Even having a few extra weeks is a win, in my opinion. And that's where motivation and peace come from, knowing that the garden has a plan beyond spring and midsummer. When your garden is planned to keep producing, you're confident and staying engaged because you're seeing results. You're not constantly restarting, guessing, or feeling behind. You're harvesting, replanting with intention, and watching your space work for you. The last pillar of my system is protecting your energy in a very real, everyday kind of way. Most gardens don't fail because we don't care enough. They fail because life keeps happening. And before you know it, the garden you were excited about feels like another responsibility you're behind on. So for me, protecting energy means designing the work of the garden just as much as the garden itself. I plan my garden so I can manage it on my own on an average week. That's why I'd rather have fewer beds that actually stay productive than a giant garden that constantly needs rescuing. I set things up so watering isn't a daily emergency. I choose crops that are forgiving and useful. And I'm okay with simple routines instead of perfection. I'd rather do small, repeatable check-ins in my garden than feel like I have to do huge catch-up days. Once I built my garden with that mindset, everything changed. Because I can consistently show up, the garden no longer drains me emotionally or physically, and here's the important part. That consistency actually gives me freedom. If I miss a day or 3, the whole system doesn't fall apart. The garden keeps going because it was built to support real life and not compete with it, and that's why this pillar matters so much. When your garden fits your real life, you keep it going, and when you keep it going, that's when it truly starts feeding you. If you're thinking, this finally makes sense, I just want help turning this into a real plan, that's exactly what my free training is for, and in it, I walk you through how to take this system and shape it around your space, your climate, and your real life, so you're not guessing or trying to figure it out alone. You'll find that linked below. And if you want to keep going right now, the next video I recommend is the one where I show exactly how I choose high value crops so what you grow actually replaces groceries.